I'm on a Tuesday night. Hope everybody is doing well and enjoying this World Series so far. If you're a Braves fan, I imagine that you're feeling pretty good right now, up 5-0 in Houston at the top of the third. But tonight, we're going to spend some time on the NFL and a couple of tone-deaf moments that came out of league meetings today that I want to get into with you guys over the course of tonight's show. Before we do that, I need you to share this show around on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and on Twitch, and we'll talk about it at great length together. If you're hanging out with us on Twitter, please retweet the show in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. If you are hanging out on Facebook Live, you can share now to public like Zay Anderson or Lucas Burks. If you are somebody who is with us on YouTube like Evan White or Steven Crozio, you can go ahead and subscribe to the A to Z Sports channel and throw us a like on the video. That would be greatly appreciated. And we'll make sure that everybody gets involved across the board. And now that more of you are here, we can go ahead and dive into some of these topics that resulted from the NFL league meetings earlier today. Got a bunch of people in the house from Maine, from Atlanta, from Texas, it looks like, from all over. The A to Z Sports Network is worldwide, and we're happy to have you guys a part of it. That being said, let's go ahead and begin the show officially, shall we? Welcome into A to Z Sports Prime Time on a Wednesday, or rather a Tuesday night from the DraftKings Sportsbook Studios. I'm your host, Buck Rising. I'm proud, as always, to be presented to you by the fine folks at DraftKings Sportsbook. DraftKings Sportsbook has all manner of great odds and profit bonuses for you to get involved using the promo code A to Z Sports in the DraftKings Sportsbook app. I'll tell you more about that later on. The Ashton Real Estate Group of RE/MAX Advantage at GaryAshton.com is where you go for your dream address without the stress. The official real estate agent of the Tennessee Titans and the Nashville Predators at GaryAshton.com. Brymak Mechanical, BRYMAK, Brymak.com. Satisfaction guaranteed on all of your HVAC needs. And the best car buying experience around can be found at Two Rivers Ford, the best in the business. Two Rivers Ford in Mount Juliet or online at tworiversford.com. So let's talk about what's happening across the world of the NFL right now, because we're watching the World Series game with you guys, but I thought that rather than talk about the game itself, that it's better to wait for the result to bear out, understanding that a 5-0 lead is pretty impressive at the top of the third. I think that there's a better conversation to be had about the baseball after the baseball game has been played, so we'll do that on the radio show tomorrow. But what we have tonight is two separate topics that I think make the NFL look so incredibly tone deaf. And that is, one, what's happening with Deshaun Watson ahead of the trade deadline, the NFL trade deadline, 1 week from today. In fact, a little less than a week from today, because that deadline officially will be at 3 p.m. Central Time. And then what's happening with Dan Snyder and the Washington football team, because there is a great many scandals resulting out of that, and a lot of it is being kind of swept under the rug. So we'll do that over the course of tonight's show, and I want to start. I don't know. That is a pretty bad word slip up. That's laugh out loud funny. I want to start with Deshaun Watson, if we could, here on A to Z Sports Prime Time. So I want to ask your Two Rivers Ford take on the A to Z Sports Prime Time Network. Will Deshaun Watson be traded before the NFL trade deadline, just a little under a week from today? Let me... I don't know why it took so long for the YouTube chat to catch up to what I just said. I do need to slow down. Yes, let's get sharded indeed. What a... Hey, listen, guys, I'm talking a lot of hours a day, a lot of days a week. The slip-ups happen, but never one that bad. That's laugh out loud funny, though. I'm glad you guys could be a part of that. Charles Hardwick says, never trust a fart. It's funny because I hate that word. I never use that word, but all right, let's be mature. Let's get it under control. Let's be mature. Two Rivers Ford take. Will Deshaun Watson be traded before the NFL deadline next Tuesday? Let me know on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. We'll talk about it at great length together right after I tell you about our friends at Two Rivers Ford. Two Rivers Ford is the best place to buy your next new or pre-owned vehicle because they operate with honesty, with integrity, and with award-winning customer service since 1983. They plan to do the same exact thing into the next 40 years that they've been operating as well. Two Rivers Ford is the best for a great many reasons, whether it's things like the Built For You program that allows you to select any Ford, any color, any customizable accessories. If you don't find the exact vehicle that you want on the lot, they'll get it built for you and delivered right to your door. It's one of the best things about Two Rivers Ford. They also have quality American-made Ford vehicles like the new 2022 Ford Maverick, the upcoming 2022 electric F-150 Lightning, which I'm very excited to find out more about as I continue my car search. My 2012 Ford Escape is on its last leg. And with the way that things are trending, I think an electric vehicle might be just what the doctor ordered. Two Rivers Ford in Mount Juliet or online at tworiversford.com. Check them out today. So, your Two Rivers Ford take. Will Deshaun Watson be traded before the NFL trade deadline next Tuesday? That's when this will take place. Donovan Romaine says Watson will not be traded. Lucas Burks on Facebook Live does agree with that sentiment. Maybe you did hit my pen boxes, Abdul. It's possible. No, we are a professional operation. So most days we're a professional operation, I would say to you, but no chemical enhancement for the primetime show. Philip Anderson says, I certainly agree, but the league gave them a slap on the hand. The league punished the opposition for hitting the Astros. Oh, he's arguing about the World Series. Well, we'll have time to talk about the World Series. The Astros right now are getting it put on them in the top of the third with Dansby Swanson at bat right now for the Braves. But let's focus on the task at hand. Stephen Crozio says, Buck, let's be real. Deshaun Watson will not be traded. If it came down to Miami or Carolina, he would rather sit out the year rather than get traded. Well, and here's the thing, Stephen. He ultimately, for as bad a situation as he is alleged to be in, and remember that all of these conversations around Deshaun Watson are allegations. There are no criminal charges just yet at this point. Now, it doesn't mean that it can't take that kind of turn. But at this point, what's happening with Deshaun Watson, I'm going to play you a clip from the league meetings in New York City where a lot of this is being discussed. The NFL doesn't know what to do with him because they don't have enough information at their disposal. So that's why he hasn't been put on the commissioner's exempt list, which is where you kind of stash these guys if they got legal problems that the NFL is waiting to sort out. There's not enough information to put Deshaun Watson on the commissioner's exempt list, and that's what's being discussed at the owners' meetings today.
Yeah, and the Deshaun Watson situation certainly will come to the forefront here, either in front of us reporters or potentially behind closed doors as well. Stephen Ross, the Miami Dolphins owner, was approached by reporters a couple minutes ago, Tom, and kind of laughed and said, I know what you guys are going to ask about, so I'm really not going to do that. But of course, these are the discussions that are going to be had today. And you mentioned, Judy, Roger Goodell has not talked about Deshaun Watson, him not expected to be placed on the commissioner's exempt list and eligible to play. He has not talked about that in, at least as far as I can tell, some time. I would expect that to come up, as well as where the league is in its investigation into Deshaun. From what I understand, they have not talked to him yet, not going to interfere with a police investigation. All of these topics are going to end up being hit on from Roger Goodell's standpoint and from all the other owners who wander into the lobby to talk to us.
So that is Ian Rappaport along with a cast of other NFL Network reporters talking about the situation with Deshaun Watson. There's a lot of different layers to sort through in this. And Charles Hardaway says, what's a sentiment I'm sure a lot of people share. Winning squashes a lot of that alleged baggage. And I'll say this, that it doesn't necessarily, because if the quarterback that you're trading for is at the risk of jail time, there's winning is good enough to cover up a lot of things. But 22 civil suits alleging sexual assault and sexual improper sexual behavior, that's too much to squash, Charles. But we'll get into this more at length, and I'll tell you what I kind of feel about it based on the reporting that I've been reading. about this particular situation right after I remind you about our friends at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL and an authorized sports betting partner of the NBA is DraftKings Sportsbook. Promo code A to Z Sports gets you in on all the action because they know that the key to victory is like the NBA. It's with a strong starting five. So bet just $5 as a new customer on any NBA team to win their game. And if they do, you win $200 in free bets. DraftKings is safe, secure, and reliable. Best of all, you can deposit and withdraw your cash whenever you want. Simply download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use promo code A2Z Sports. Bet just $5 on any NBA team to win their game and win $200 in free bets. If they win, you win with promo code A2Z Sports this week at DraftKings Sportsbook, an authorized sports betting partner of the NBA. Must be 21 or older and present in Tennessee to bet. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call or text the Tennessee Red Line, 1-800-889-9789. So, do you believe that Deshaun Watson will be traded a week from today? I think the only other team that Watson will play for is the Mean Machine in prison, says Derek Rhodes. Well, again, we will see something. We will see something happen with Deshaun Watson by the trade deadline. And what that ends up being remains a bit of a mystery at this point. For the purposes of the Houston Texans, they have botched this up and down, right? Because they had the opportunity to move him long before these allegations came about. And if they had done their due diligence, one would have to understand that this is a circumstance that they could have found out about had they just done even the tiniest bit of digging around the Deshaun Watson situation. Now, maybe they didn't feel that was necessary at the time, and it ends up working against them in their favor. But this is what Barry Jackson, who is one of the most credible reporters in the Miami area, has said about the Houston Chronicle. The Houston Chronicle, John McClain, said that he wouldn't be surprised if Deshaun Watson was traded by the deadline. And this is what Barry Jackson adds to that reporting. The Houston Chronicle reports that the Dolphins and Texans have agreed on trade terms for Watson. Okay, so they've agreed on trade terms, but the Dolphins want his legal issues resolved before consummating that deal. He adds parenthetically, good luck with that. Chronicle suggests that Ross wants clarity from Goodell on length of potential suspension. Also added parenthetically, good luck with that. So, according to the Houston Chronicle, they have agreed on trade terms for Deshaun Watson, but they will not do the deal until they have more clarity on his legal situation. And we've been, 6 months at this point without a shred of clarity on Deshaun Watson's situation. As MB says, we have no idea what the serious offers were at the time, all rumors, and that is 1,000% so at this point. I have a feeling, here's what I'll say, because there are a lot of circumstances where I would say an NFL team would probably trade for this player, where you see Carolina spiraling and they've just benched Sam Darnold, where you see Tua Tagovailoa being basically given up on by ownership, and after they've given Brian Flores and his staff a couple of years to try and get their things together, the owner is impatient. And now he wants to win. He wants a better quarterback, and he thinks that Deshaun Watson is it. And damn the moral conflicts that come with that. But the Houston Texans are telling you what kind of a moral conflict it is because they have him available. He could play. He's not on the commissioner exempt list. Deshaun Watson is eligible to be active on game days, and they won't do the thing that every other NFL team allegedly, or a lot of other NFL teams, want to do, as Ian Rappaport just said there. But for this particular circumstance, I do not believe that Deshaun Watson, just at this point, given all the clarifiers that have been put around the situation, where it sounds like the Texans and the Dolphins have gotten a deal done or close to done, and what's holding it up is the Dolphins want resolution, and of course that would be the case. The Dolphins, everybody wants a resolution on this. Deshaun Watson wants a damn resolution on this, and no such clarity is coming at this point. I would say to you that I do not believe that Deshaun Watson will be traded before the NFL trade deadline on Tuesday. So at this point, I would say just kind of hang tight and continue to monitor this situation. But if the Dolphins continue to lose, I bet they try and make a play for him next season, or maybe they'll get into the game with Aaron Rodgers, given that he will have at that point effectively forced his way out of the Green Bay Packers organization. Let's move on and let's talk about another tone-deaf issue for the NFL at this point, because this also was the result of the league meetings today, and Roger Goodell was interviewed in a press conference setting about a lot of these situations, particularly involving John Gruden's emails and the corresponding investigation into the Washington football team and owner Dan Snyder. So the question that I want to ask you guys is this: fair or foul? Roger Goodell thinking that the NFL has held Dan Snyder accountable? Let me know on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and on Twitch. We'll talk about it here tonight before we get you back to the World Series this evening. Game one, fair or foul? Roger Goodell thinking the NFL has held Dan Snyder accountable. We'll talk about it here in just a second, right after I remind you about our friends at Brymak Mechanical. B-R-Y-M-A-K, Brymak.com. Satisfaction guaranteed on all of your HVAC needs. They are the best in the business. They are the people that will get you in your comfort zone. They have 3 locations, able to get your HVAC serviced, whether it be residentially, whether it be commercially. Brymak Mechanical in Tennessee and in Kentucky will take care of you. B-R-Y-M-A-K, Brymak.com. So, fair or foul? The NFL thinking that they've held Dan Snyder accountable. Now, if in this circumstance you haven't necessarily been following the storyline, let me catch you up to date on the latest with Dan Snyder and what is happening with him in the NFL world right now. So Dan Snyder, the latest on this particular issue, and I'm reading one of many reports that was put out about this one from Yahoo Sports. Roger Goodell has no plans to release a report on the Washington football team and what was rampantly reported as workplace misconduct. But at this point, he is the commissioner of the league. He wants the world to believe him that Dan Snyder has been suitably punished. The answer to this question about what they're doing about Dan Snyder is this from Roger Goodell earlier today. I do think he's been held accountable for the investigation. I think the organization has been held accountable, and I think we've given an unprecedented fine. Now, that fine was $10 million following a year-long league internal investigation, but people want the results of that investigation made public because the money just isn't good enough when you're talking about the things that Dan Snyder and people within the Washington football team organization were accused of doing. Dan Snyder, Roger Goodell goes on to add, has not been involved with the organization now for almost 4 months. We obviously focus more on making sure that policies that they had, many of which they put into place prior to this investigation, but also coming out of it, were put into place and that they will be maintained and that we can ensure that that won't happen in this organization. So Snyder was basically asked to step down from overseeing day-to-day stuff, but his wife is still the one running the show. So it's impossible for me to believe that Dan Snyder doesn't have some kind of situation, where he has influence, despite what Goodell is saying, him being removed from the team for 4 months. They were blasted by Lisa Banks, who's an attorney representing more than 40 former Washington football team employees who claimed to experience sexual harassment while working with the team. Banks accused the NFL of protecting, and this is from the Yahoo story, Banks accused the NFL of protecting one of its owners, calling the fine pocket change for Snyder, whose estimated net worth is $4 billion. $10 million to an NFL team is pennies on the dollar. Absolutely. There needs to be some kind of transparency. Now, the NFL isn't required by anybody to be transparent, but the United States Congress is looking into this, which tells you all you need to know about how believable Roger Goodell and Daniel Snyder's excuses are at this point. So fair or foul, the idea that Roger Goodell has held Daniel Snyder accountable, the only thing that I can say to you is just blatantly foul. Blatantly foul. Billy Jones says, turn out the lights, the party's over. Foul for Corey Smith. Lewis Chesney says fair. Lewis, I think you're dead wrong on that. Foul AF for Cody Holzer. TJ Hines says, how are you not going to mention the boy, Joe Flacco, getting going back to the Jets to start? I just did because you made me. Otherwise, it has zero relevance to what we're talking about, TJ. I just could not give less of a damn about Joe Flacco being back in the NFL. Although good for Flacco, he's continuing to cash checks long after his powers have expired. Accountable how? By ousting Gruden? LMAO says, Cody Hulzer. That's what I'm saying. Like, those emails that Gruden was sending to the former president of the Washington football team, Bruce Allen, where are the correspondence between not just Gruden to Bruce, but from Bruce to Gruden? Like, why is Gruden the only person being publicly drugged through the streets when you know this is a much more widespread situation than just John Gruden being behind closed doors, apparently a very, very bad and bigoted person? So from that standpoint, yeah, there's zero accountability for Dan Snyder other than a $10 million fine, which sure is unprecedented, but it's pocket change to the NFL. The NFL could find $10 million in Roger Goodell's back pocket from his laundry that went through the washing machine. Like, that's nothing. That's nothing out there that's any kind of relevant. Now, Billy Jones says something that I do largely agree with. Congress should stick to running the country better. And yeah, I largely think that Congress on both sides of the aisle is wildly inept, and that there are better uses of the federal government's time than investigating the NFL. But for the purposes of my business, I would love to have more clarity on this particular situation, even if it's just a distraction from what the federal government should actually be doing with their time. Danny Sutherland says, if it's an open investigation in Congress, you can't expect anything to be released to be fair, but it is still foul. Gruden should release the rest of the emails, the responses, says MB. Yeah, I think that John Gruden, I mean, he said something to, I can't remember where I saw the quote come out of, but basically Gruden said to somebody offhand, to like an HBO producer, like, this is just getting started. So I'm sure Gruden is looking at this, be like, oh no, mother bleepers. Like, if I'm going down, somebody's going down with me, because he put himself in that position, and John Gruden was rightfully held accountable, but he was the sacrificial lamb for a situation that is much, much bigger than just John Gruden. Evan White says, how did such an idiot Goodell get such a good job? Well, I don't know that Roger Goodell's an idiot. I think that Roger Goodell does the job that the owners want him to do, which is be the face of the league, to get bullied publicly and to take the slings and arrows and to protect the owners from any of this actual oversight, because he works for the owners. So they're very happy to have Roger Goodell in that position. Let's move on, and let's do a little laughing at a clip that made me laugh out loud today, circulating the internet. The question I want to ask you about our gone viral video today is, who is your favorite NFL head coach? Let me know on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and on Twitch. We'll talk about it together. Who is your favorite NFL head coach across all 32 NFL teams? If you are a Titans fan, I don't blame you for saying Mike Vrabel. I'm going to go about it a different way, because I like Mike, but there was a clip today that I think made this particular NFL head coach my favorite NFL head coach. Vrabel for Mark Jones, Mighty Mike for Louis Chesney. Who is your favorite NFL head coach? We'll talk about it together here in just a second, right after I tell you about our friends at Gary Ashton and the Ashton Real Estate Group of RE/MAX Advantage. Gary Ashton is the best in the business. GaryAshton.com is where you go for the official real estate agent of the Titans, the Preds, and A to Z Sports Prime Time. Gary and his team will make sure that you find the best value for your needs, the house that fits your exact specifications, whether it be an actual house, whether it be a condo, a townhouse, a second property. The Ashton team will ensure that you are taken care of in every way, shape, or form. And if you are in the market to sell your home, the Ashton team will help you sell for more at GaryAshton.com. So who is your favorite NFL head coach? Let me know in the comments section. For Brad Lifford, it's Tomlin. For Cody Valentine, it is Sean McVay. Trenny Davidson going with Mike Vrabel, hands down. Evan White likes Harbaugh. I assume he's talking about John. Jim, of course, would not qualify because he's not in the NFL, although Jim is undefeated at this point, which is laugh out loud funny because people just refuse to give him credit. Derek Rhodes says Coach Vrabel, other than the Titans, probably Cliff Kingsbury. Matthew Stanley says Brandon Staley, Chargers, that guy gets it. And I would agree with you, Matthew. I think that he has a very, very bright future, and I love the clips that I see coming out of his press conference. But it's hard for me to go with anybody but the person who had an exceptional press conference today, Mike Tomlin, addressing the rumors that he will be the next head coach at the University of Southern California.
Guys, I don't have time for that speculation. I mean, that's a joke to me. I got one of the best jobs in all of professional sport. Why would I have any interest in coaching college football? That'll be the last time that I address it. And not only today, but moving forward. Never say never, but never. Okay? Anybody else got any questions about any college jobs? There's not a booster with a big enough blank check.
Anyone else? All right.
Thank you. Anybody asking Sean Payton about that? You know, anybody asking Andy Reid about stuff like that?
It's such a great walk-off. I love Mike Tomlin. I think Mike Tomlin gives as good a press conference as anybody. I can't help but love him. He is such an honest and transparent individual, and I appreciate the fact that he took it that personally. Because somebody put out a video of Urban Meyer being asked about USC up next to Mike Tomlin being asked about USC, and the difference in the denials is night and day. Now, Urban is notably a shady human being, and Mike Tomlin is quite the opposite at this point, but he is such a stud. Never say never, but never is such a great line by Mike Tomlin. Never, never, ever, ever. Stacey Wills, that's right. He had no time for that. And if you want a head coach to stand by his program, his franchise, whatever, that's what a real denial looks like. And nobody is as real as Mike Tomlin is at this point in the NFL. That's why he's my favorite coach in the NFL at this point. But I understand that there are many other nominees for great head coaches across the NFL. Cody Holzer said, Mike said, I ain't got time. No, wait. Yes, I do. I really love it. I really love the energy and the passion that he brings to those kinds of conversations. Just as I love spending every Sunday through Thursday night with you guys here on A to Z Sports Prime Time. Tomorrow, we will talk more about what's happening at St. Thomas Sports Park. The Titans will be back on the practice field ahead of their trip to Indianapolis this weekend. Of course, I will be in Indianapolis for that game, and I will look forward to talking about the Titans and the Colts at greater length as the week progresses. So we'll do that tomorrow at about 8 p.m. Central Time, and we'll keep tabs on what's happening in the World Series game. 5-0 still at the top of the fourth for the Atlanta Braves. Jorge Soler back up to bat after starting the game off with a home run to open the scoring and to open the World Series. What I'll say to you is on the radio show tomorrow, The Dumbest Thing in Sports this week will be a great time. I'm sure that Shannon Sharp will make an appearance for the first time. We will also have Will Compton of Bussin' with the Boys, and we'll talk to him about the disrespect that the Titans are getting in the national media. We'll do that tomorrow from 10 to 1 on the radio show, and then come back and have a fun primetime episode after that. Enjoy the rest of your evening. We will see you then and talk to you